coverage you can count on. This is WTVM News Leader 9. Sponsored by Montlick and Associates, Columbus Injury Attorneys.
We have decided to issue warrants in this case today. We concluded and considered it as one of our important considerations that Mr. Brooks never presented himself as a threat.
Major news out of Atlanta. The officers involved in the deadly shooting of RAYSHARD Brooks Friday night will face criminal charges. The DA investigating the case, making the announcement just hours ago. Atlanta has seen continued demonstrations following Brooks's death, and his family has been demanding justice. Officer Garrett Wolf, who shot and killed the 27-year-old, is facing 11 charges, including felony murder, carrying a possible life sentence or the death penalty. The second officer, Devin Brosnan, is facing 3 charges, including aggravated assault, and is now a state's witness, according to the district attorney. The RAYSHARD Brooks case is just one of several shocking uses of force by police caught on camera in the last several weeks. On May 25th, George Floyd died at the hands of police in Minneapolis, sparking a global outcry for justice. Witness video shows Floyd gasping again and again as a white officer presses his knee into the black man's neck and keeps it there for 8 minutes and 46 seconds. And in Buffalo, 2 officers under investigation after a video surfaced showing them shoving a 75-year-old protester who fell to the ground. The man suffering a serious head injury, now unable to walk. And this week, teens in Clayton County, Georgia, were held at gunpoint by police, and a witness who recorded the ordeal says officers did not take the time to even talk to the children before pulling their weapons. As law enforcement use of force calls are making headlines across the nation, Muskogee County Sheriff candidates say there are policies in place on when officers can use force.
We have what's called a force continuum, and in that force continuum, it's a pyramid.
If you have someone that's using force on you, you can go up one step with them.
And News Leader 9, Samantha Serban talking with the 2 candidates and Columbus's mayor about what local agencies can do. And Samantha, are there any law enforcement reform ideas already in the works?
Jason, Columbus Mayor Skip Henderson says there are ideas being tossed around on how to improve local law enforcement agencies. One idea being showing unity between the community and the men and women behind the badge.
Part of the answer, I'm not saying the whole answer, but part of the answer is trying to get the community and the police together to let them talk and share about some of the things they feel in different events when they come into contact with one another.
While officer-involved use of force cases make national headlines, Columbus Mayor Skip Henderson says less than 0.027% of 911 calls locally involve force.
From a sheer numbers perspective, our police department does a pretty good job, as does the Sheriff's Department and the Marshal's Department, of looking for ways to de-escalate.
Although the numbers are low, Henderson says there is always room for improvement. According to Marshal Greg Countryman, agencies need to revert back to community policing.
A lot of this is based on law enforcement's relationship with the community. It's not there.
Countryman's political opponent and former Columbus police officer Mark LaJoy says reforms are coming, and he hopes money is dedicated to more training. But use of force policy is already pretty straightforward.
The suspect really dictates the escalation of force, that the officer, according to the law, can go one step above the escalation of whatever the suspect force that he's using against you.
Countryman and LaJoy, although in different political parties, agree that unity requires a mutual effort.
I reached out to leaders at the Columbus Police Department to hear more about possible reforms here locally. They say they'll get back with me soon. Reporting live in Columbus, Samantha Serban for WTVM News Leader 9.
Definitely changes are being made and need to be made. All right, thank you, Samantha.
And in East Alabama, the Opelika Police Department sharing new details about their policies, training methods, and their goals. According to Captain Shane Healy, OPD works diligently to ensure diversity on the force so the police department reflects the community they serve. Captain Healy says chokeholds and neck restraints have been prohibited for years, and anytime any force is used by an officer, 3 to 4 people within the department review the incident immediately. He says they don't tolerate excessive force. He tells us the department is always looking for ways to better serve the community.
We know that we can always get better. We're not happy with the status quo. You know, what is acceptable today may not be acceptable tomorrow. So we don't want to just keep, you know, just obtain one standard and then, okay, hey, we're good. We want to continue trying to stay at the forefront of what is expected.
Captain Healy says it takes 6 to 9 months of training to become an officer for OPD, with training both locally and at the state level.
As racial unrest continues in the country, the Confederate monument debate in Alabama is heating up. Right now, state law does not allow cities to decide to move Confederate monuments.
Supporters of the law say it protests Alabama's history, but one Democratic state lawmaker wants to propose a bill giving cities the choice to move these monuments to other locations.
If it's offensive to other races, to a race of people, then we must be willing to talk about it and move it. And I agree with Senator Marsh. Then, you know, we can move it to where history can be preserved.
I think we should leave the monuments where they are as a memorial and also as a reminder of where our past was and where we've come to at this point in our nation's history.
The proposal could come during the next regular Alabama legislative session.
Opelika City Council approving a peaceful Juneteenth march this Friday, June 19th, in downtown Opelika.
According to the mayor, the community has organized a march and peaceful rally to celebrate and honor Juneteenth every year for the past several years. Friday's march will begin at 5:30 Central Time, hosted by Representative Jeremy Gray, Councilwoman Tiffany Gibson-Pitts, and community activist Janatica Holmes.
The mayor sharing it's important the community is able to hold an event like this.
I've been fortunate to have participated in that several times in the past. I won't be able to do it this year because of another obligation, but I think a lot of folks will come and be a part of that. People have a right to celebrate holidays that are important to them.
Now, all participants are encouraged to wear masks, PPE, and practice social distancing.
Turning now to our forecast, we certainly had some nice weather on this Wednesday. If we could get just more of this in June. Here's a look now from our Alpha Insurance Sky Cam in Uptown Columbus.
So how are we looking for tonight, and will the temperatures be rising this week? Let's hear from Chief Meteorologist Derek Kincaid.
Thanks, guys. Yeah, after temperatures in the 50s this...
All right, Derek, thank you. COVID-19 has infiltrated a local jail, and members of the community are expressing anger about the response from the overseeing sheriff's office there in Troup County.
All night. I worry about my son in there because when he calls me, he tells me about the conditions in there.
This morning, dozens of family members of those incarcerated showed up at the Troup County Jail demanding answers. Sheriff James Woodruff telling them he would meet and listen to their concerns.
We're meeting with the state court judge this morning. Anybody that's got misdemeanor charges, she's going to look at each one of those cases and see if they qualify for a bond or a release.
Sheriff says there have been 38 positive tests out of the 57 inmates tested. In total, there are more than 400 inmates in the Troup County Jail.
And in East Alabama, almost a dozen international students are not able to return home to their families because of COVID-19. This year, the Springwood School had 31 students from around the world to study as part of their residential international school. While most have been able to return home, there are 9 high school age students from Vietnam who are stuck here and can't return home because of restrictions and issues with flights. These students say they miss their families and they're sad they can't go home, but they're still trying to make the most of their experience in America.
It's a little nervous because I haven't been away from my family for so long like this, but like gradually I just get used to it and everything just get better.
We're trying to expose them and let them have as many good experiences while they're here.
According to the director of Springwoods International School, they're trying to find creative ways to keep the students entertained and still learning, including golf and tennis lessons, trips to state parks, and more. Newsletter 9 dedicated to bringing you the most up-to-date coverage during the coronavirus pandemic. You can find the latest numbers on our website under the coronavirus tab.
We're learning new details about a historic mansion destroyed by fire last night in Phoenix City. The home originally belonged to Phoenix City's second mayor, Warren Williams, known as the city of Brownsville during the late 1800s. And our Roslyn Giles digging deeper into the history of this mansion. And Roslyn, family member with ties to this home was on site this morning. Tell us more.
Yeah, Barbara, that's exactly right. Charles Williams III says that was his grandfather's home that burned last night on 9th Avenue and 20th Street in Phoenix City. This home dates back, though, to his great-grandfather, who was the city's second mayor, as you said, Barbara. Charles Williams III says he's been inside that home 1,000 times. He got the dreadful call from his daughter last night telling him about what happened. He came to see it for himself this morning. He says seeing a home that's been in the family for years and years, it was definitely a shocker.
Our home place, and it was something that we could always fall back on, you know, and was proud to have it here in Phoenix City. But you know, like I say, things do happen, and now it's gone, and memories last though.
And this is Sky Alert 9 drone footage of the Williams Holland Mansion, built in 1884 by Warren Williams for his family. The home was placed on the Alabama Registry of Landmark and Heritage in 1980. Charles Williams III says the home has been sold at least twice since his family owned it. I also spoke to Fire Chief Chris Kennedy earlier this afternoon. She is calling this a suspicious fire, mainly because it's been vacant for so long, at least a decade now. But as to what caused this fire right now, it's still a mystery. Back to you.
Yeah, it's too bad to see that piece of history go up in flames there. All right, Roslyn, keep us posted on the investigation. Thank you.
One way community members and the police can come together in Columbus is by sharing information about crime. Take a look here and you'll see a new billboard near the intersection of River Road and Manchester Expressway. This is above Rusty's floor covering.
It showcases 17-year-old Destiny Nelson, who was murdered in her Bull Creek apartment home back in January of 2017. There's a $15,000 reward for anyone who has information leading to the arrest and conviction of the people involved.
Next on the news at 6, memories of a massacre at a church that left 9 people dead.
Hear what people are saying 5 years the day after the hate crime in Charleston, South Carolina.